Just a quick disclaimer before the video starts. You probably will not agree with me in this tier list. This is my opinion, and you can say whatever you want in the comments. It's just my opinion. I just want to make this video. So just don't be offended by anything I say. If I say your favorite survivor is the worst, then don't get mad. So on to the video. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Overcharge Games. Today I'll be doing a tier list, and also, I didn't make a video on the Nosferatu update because I've had a lot of work. I'm trying to upload more consistently, but again, I have a lot of work, so it's hard. I'm going to try to do it because now it's Christmas season. I'm going to try to upload 2 videos a week, at least once the break starts. I'm not in school anymore. But basically, I'm going to be ranking all the killers and survivors in Forsaken, just with this tier list I found online. And I'll be explaining why I think they go in their specific positions. So, and it's not, the survivors are not in any particular order. The killers are just from least expensive to most expensive, with Nosferatu being last. Without further ado, let's start. So we're starting off the tier list with Slasher, who I am putting in B tier. So Slasher is not a very good killer, but despite that, I don't think he's the worst killer, despite what a lot of people may think. He has the good thing where he has the fastest base speed in the game. So if he's ever able to catch up to you and damage you, and he's not at a massive stamina disadvantage, then you're just dead unless if you can have you or someone else stun or massively slow him down, because he is super fast. You just can't outrun him if you aren't already extremely far away when the chase starts. Now, now, with all that, he is still a very bad killer because he has only melee abilities, and his only way of getting close to you is running up to you, which is much worse than a lot of the killer's game where they can use abilities to move themselves, which is really powerful because abilities don't require stamina, most of them. At least I don't think any of them do. And it allows them to, like Cool Kid, Noli, Guess 6, it allows them to get close to someone without wasting stamina. Jason or Slasher can't do that. He has to just run up to you, and the only thing he can do during a match is just target one person, chase them down until eventually he kills them, because he will eventually always kill someone. It's just that it takes so much time that he's basically never going to win against a competent team. But he still has a chance in like one of the other killers I'm going to be covering later today. So I think he deserves at least B tier, but definitely not above that. Cool Kid is next. I'm going to put him at the bottom of A tier. I put him, I think, at the very bottom in like D tier, my last tier list, which he does not deserve D tier for sure. He still isn't a very good killer though. The main problem is he doesn't have a detection ability. I think he's also like one of the most balanced killers, but in terms of Forsaken, that makes him pretty mid because all the killers are extremely broken now. But like, he's pretty balanced. He has just the problem he has is, first of all, he has no detection ability, so he has to rely solely on his minions, which has gotten better because he's gone a couple of buffs to his minions recently, which makes them more viable as a detection ability, but still, it's much worse than just having an actual detection ability. And it's like, the problem I have with him is that all his abilities, there is a better version of them somewhere in the game among the other killers. Like his M1, Slasher's M1 is just better. It's fast. It's almost as fast, and it deals overall more damage with the bleeding, and it has a lot more range. His corrupt nature is just worse than Noli's Nova, and I would consider it worse than Nosferatu's Hunter's Feast. I think so. That's what his ability is called, because they both just, this makes it impossible for a survivor to escape, and this means that you can deal massive damage if you hit them again. And his Walk Speed Override, just a worse version of Void Rush or Demonic Pursuit. Void Rush has more control, Demonic Pursuit goes faster, and his minions, 1x's minions are just better. They just are. They give him speed. They can damage survivors multiple times instead of just once. And when one spawns minions, they are just automatically scattered around the map because of how they spawn, contrary to Cool Kids spawning them directly next to them, making them pretty much not about just a completely non-viable option mid chase. So overall, he is a pretty decent killer, and if you are new, I would recommend trying to get him as quickly as you can because he is very, very easy to play. But he, compared to other killers, if you know how to play them, he just is not that good. Next up is John Doe. Unfortunately, I'm putting him in last place in C tier. John Doe is just not a very good killer. Like, I know some diehard John Doe fans are going to be mad at me about this one, but like, he was only viable a couple months ago when his unstoppable passive was still really powerful, and in that time, he was a very strong killer. He was one of, if not the strongest. I would still consider other killers at the time, like which I think was only really 1x to be better. But but since then, the killer roster has gotten a lot more stacked. We have some OP killers now, some completely busted killers, and so even when he was in his peak, he was still pretty much mid. And as he is right now, he's just terrible. First of all, his playstyle Trapper just doesn't work. A competent player will know, just don't get trapped, just don't walk into a corner, just go anywhere else. And that's in a closed map. In an open map, it's basically impossible to trap survivors because it's open, they can go anywhere. Then also, and then even if you do manage to trap them, if they're playing something like Veronica, or if they're just playing for something like Veronica or 7-7, they can just escape. 7-7 can take out the digital footprint, and Veronica can just hop over everything that John Doe throws at her. And so his playstyle is just not good. His M1 is not good. It takes too long to wind up. He has really nothing else. His detection ability is not good. It doesn't give him anything other than detection, contrary to literally every single other detection ability in the game. And he only has his traps. If you don't get trapped, he has nothing. He's just a slow killer if you don't get trapped. So he's just terrible. At least Slasher, he's consistent, if even if consistently bad, but like he has a chance of winning if the survivors aren't paying attention. John Doe just has zero chance of winning. Next up is Noli, going at the top of S tier. Noli is extremely powerful as a killer. He can teleport across the map, charge across the map, and throw novas across the map. He has basically infinite range. And like, his abilities are extremely powerful. Void Rush is just so powerful. It's basically a walk speed override if you could move over it, and it does overall more damage. And also inflicts hallucination, and it goes further. Yeah, it's just like a 10 times better walk speed override. And you can't get punished for it. It's just an insane ability. And you can also just combo it with his other insane ability, Observant, teleport to a random generator, then use Void Rush and surprise someone with literally zero chance of them. There's basically zero chance of them knowing you're coming. The best, like, if they're a good player, they'll know to hide behind a wall, but even then, it's like there's probably going to be someone who doesn't know that, who can just ambush them instead. And when it comes to mid chase, he is one of the better people in mid chase. He has anti loop with his Nova, which is a really powerful ability. The only thing that can really counter him is very, very specific loops. But even then, it's like, even then, he's going to eventually catch up to you with Nova or Void Rush or something else. Or he'll just teleport away and Void Rush you, anyways. He's just almost unstoppable. You can still beat him. He's still beatable, but he is so powerful. And that's why I put him in S tier. Next up is 1x, going at the top of A tier. 1x is really good as a killer. I would highly recommend trying to get him and play him, because he is a more or less balanced killer, but he is still very powerful, and he isn't too hard to play. But I would still consider him worse than a couple of other killers. He, like, It's just that like if the game was what a couple of months ago when like Noli Guess 66 and Nosferatu didn't exist, I considered Wax to definitely be like the best one because he is and was extremely powerful, especially at that one point where there was no cap to his speed stacking with his minions, so he could just get to like supersonic levels of speed, which was insane. But they've still nerfed that, but he's still a very powerful killer. Entanglement is a very powerful on hit, and as Entanglement is very powerful on hit, Massive Action is really powerful on hit, and Uncivilized is a very powerful ability. Basically, makes you like the same speed as Slasher, and you get to detect people, and like also his minions are very powerful endgame tools because they still give you speed 1, which is still a very significant buff, and also they are surprisingly annoying to deal with as survivor because they're just scared around the map, and yeah, they're just always in the way, and like it's very hard. It's for some reason they made it extremely difficult to shake minions, 1x's minions, because they have like a massive detection range once they see you. So you have to like run across like half the map to stop them from following you. But despite all that, he is still not as good as some of the other killers because it mostly comes down to can you hit your shots, which is yeah, mostly depend on how well you aim, but also the survivors can dodge your attacks if they're paying attention, especially if it's mass infection. It's super obvious. And then once you've run out of range abilities, you just have to use a stable eye and try to catch up to them. He is very powerful, and I would recommend trying him, but he is just not the most powerful for sure. Next up is Guest 666, going at the bottom of S tier. Guest 666 is a very, very powerful killer, and in my opinion, is definitely the most fun killer to play because it just feels so fun to play him. He isn't. I wouldn't say he's as strong as Noli or the next killer Nosferatu we'll be talking about. If you that, no, haven't picked up on that, mainly because looping. He is looped a lot harder than Noli because, like, especially with the most recent like balance change, what they've done is they've made his passive better, but they've also made it so that he loses stamina faster. Which correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any other killer game loses stamina faster than Guess 666, which is insane. Makes is that in a chase it is extremely hard for Guess 666 to catch up to, and not a chase, but when a survivor is looping you, it's even harder than it already was. It was already extremely hard because you couldn't use your passive, and even though now they've made it so that if you're close to a survivor, the passive still activates. That doesn't. They also made it so that you lose stamina much faster. Like 0.5 extra stamina loss doesn't seem like a lot, but it's extremely powerful when I'm pretty sure every single other killer has the same amount of stamina loss except for Guess 6. Again, I may be wrong about that, but that's what I think. What I found is that if a survivor is good, they'll just find a really good looping spot and just loop you. And while you definitely will eventually catch up to them because you're just that fast, is much much harder. And sometimes you can just get looped for eternity if you don't play well. And he has really no counter to this. Like, yeah, you can use Demonic Pursuit to leap over the looping spot, but that doesn't work because you leap too far most of the time, and it has too much end lag. And also, and like, yeah, you can hit them with Infernal Cry, you'll get a little speed boost, but it's only 10%. So, yeah, he just. But when you're not being looped, he's just absurdly powerful. You just completely wreck everyone. Especially when you're in Blood Hunt, there's just no stopping you when you're in Blood Hunt. So he is still a very powerful killer, just that sometimes he feels absurdly weak. Next up is Nosferatu, the last killer, going in an easy S plus tier. Like, if you don't think Nosferatu is the most broken killer in Forsaken, I don't know. What game are you playing? Like, seriously. This guy is so broken, it's just not fun to play him. I literally got to level 100 to stop playing him because he's just not fun to play. It's just way too easy to win with him. If you're at all competent, you will always win with Nosferatu unless if something goes catastrophically wrong. Like, I'm talking you get like 500 ping, or Roblox flipping kicks you, or like you get flipping kicked out of the server. Like, those are the only two scenarios, or someone attacking, like the only scenarios where you will lose as Nosferatu because he's just so powerful. All of his abilities are just better versions of other abilities, in contrast to like Cool Kid. Like, his M1 is definitely not that great, but like it's not bad. His Bloodhook is like really honestly very comparable to Entanglement because its range is surprisingly long, and it deals like 15 damage on contact, which is already 5 more damage than Entanglement. It reels them in just like, so it performs the same tasks of Entanglement as letting you catch up to survivors. And if the survivor doesn't escape in time, you deal an additional 25 damage, I believe, which is a total 40 damage, which is that's like on level of most punishing moves in the game, which for a move that is that easy to land, it's insane. Then his Cataclysm, which is probably his most broken ability. You know, John Doe's digital footprint? Imagine if you could place 20 of them in a line and also do an explosion that deals an additional 10 damage in a massive radius. That's literally what Cataclysm is. You spawn like 20 digital footprints and you explode dealing 10 damage. It's just like insane. You can just like circle the survivor with the ability and they're just completely trapped. While the puzzles aren't like, I think they're exactly half as effective as a digital footprint, that is still a chase ender. If you get step in one of those and he's nearby, you're just dead. You are too slow to run away and you're taking a lot of damage on top of that. So yeah, it's insane. His Hunter's Feast is probably his worst ability, but still not bad. It's basically Corrupt Nature, but it deals 5 damage and increases your damage by 25%. Like, it inflicts a lot of other effects, but all those really do is make it so that you can't. It's harder to tell he's chasing you, except for you were just in a chase. It's kind of hard to not notice the ominous transparent body floating towards you after you were just hit by a swarm of bats. So it doesn't really matter. All that matters is you deal 25% more damage to the survivor, which is still really good. And you can, while it can be a little bit tricky to hit up close, I mean, hit far away, it's basically impossible to miss up close because it has an almost instantaneous wind up. And you can follow up basically immediately with an M1, making use out of it immediately, basically. And then finally, his it's Ascension. It's basically noise observant, but if you could, but you fly across the map, you aren't constrained to only teleport into generators. You can literally just fly across the map. It still costs no stamina, and if you get lucky, you can deal 35 damage to survivors with no work at all. So yeah, he's just, and his base stats aren't even that bad either. He has pretty good base stats, which makes him just overall an absurdly broken killer. Like, I don't know what they were thinking when they added this killer. And yeah, he needs a massive buff. I would say make it so it's like Cataclysm, Blood Puddles only last for like 3 seconds with their effects. His Bloodhook deals less damage or has less range or both, and like his Ascension only lasts like 5 seconds or something because it currently lasts 10 seconds, which is basically the equivalent of noise observant teleporting across the map. That's all the killers. Now we're gonna move on to the survivors. Again, in no particular order, I don't think. I didn't make this tier list. First up is Noob, going in a solid A tier. I'm putting him at the top of A tier. Noob right now is, in my opinion, currently the best survivalist. Because the other two either A have been nerfed into the ground in Veronica's case. Not really. She's still pretty good, but like she's a lot worse than she was before the update. And 7-7 is just not good. He's just way too inconsistent. Noob is consistent and very powerful. Well, not extremely powerful, he is pretty powerful. His Bloxicola is just kind of a weaker version of his normal Bloxicola, of the normal Bloxicola, except you drink it faster, so it's kind of a little bit of a trade off, but overall it's just a weaker Bloxicola, which doesn't mean it's useless. It's still very good to get away, to disengage from a killer. And then there's Slate Skin, which is very situational, I feel like. Well, it's not as situational as Ghostburger, but it's still like it can give you an extra 5 seconds, but you're probably going to get hit after you get out, perhaps with a punch move, depending on the killer. So, yeah, Slate Skin is a little bit worse than Cola, but it's still pretty decent ability. Ghostburger is by far the most situational one. Like, you can't really you have to really like either predict with it or you can just use it whenever you go on generator if you just don't want to be bothered. Other than that, it's not really that great in most situations. So overall, Noob is just consistent, and that's best I could describe him. He's consistent. He's not that hard to use. You just have to be really good at timing your abilities. And he's a really good survivalist. He's good at what he does. He's good at surviving. Next one is Shed. I'm gonna put him at the bottom of S tier. Shed, despite what I've seen a lot of people say, is one of, in my opinion, the best Sentinels. And like, because he is just very consistent, like Noob. He's another one of the star characters. I forgot to mention this, but both Shed, Noob, and Elliot are star characters, so they are free. And they're all pretty decent, I would say. Shed is a really good sentinel. His slash, if you use it right, is not too hard to hit, while it is a little punishing if you miss. But even if you do get punished, if you're able to get away, you can heal 40 HP, which is extremely powerful. A self heal in this game is extremely powerful. Healing is very rare, so the survivors that do have healing are extremely powerful. And then next, yeah, I need to say more. But like his stun is pretty decent. His heal is pretty decent. He isn't the best survivor for sure, but he isn't the worst for sure. Next up is gonna be Elliot. I'm gonna put him. I'm trying to think about this one. I think I'm putting him bottom A tier, just barely an A tier. So he got a little bit of a nerf this update. Like his base healing is a lot lower. His speed heal takes a lot longer, so there's more of a chance to interrupt it. So he's definitely not as good as he once was. He's definitely not bad as a support. He is really good. One of the and definitely the upper half of the supports. There's just one problem I have with him. Even though he's good at support because he's healer, which is very useful in this kind of game, he also is really hard to sustain. He dies very quickly. He has a low amount of HP, and his survivalist ability is Rush Hour, which gives him like a second or two of speed 3, which is just not going to cut against killers who can dash across the map in like an instant. So yeah, you need like a whole team to sustain you, and it's just really hard to do that. And like a pro server with a lot of good people, you probably go up to like bomb of S tier, but he's still just not as good as other survivors in my opinion when it comes to just everything. Next up is 7 and 7, going very bottom D tier. Unfortunately, he's just not good. He's a survivalist who is just not good at surviving. He's gotten a lot worse. Well, mainly because these other killers have been added. So before it was like he could be annoying. He could like uh, teleport away, and when there were the killers game were like these killers, it was pretty powerful to teleport across the map because they couldn't just get across the map in an instant. They had to actually run across the map or ignore you. But now there's these killers who can just dash across the map or jump across the map or teleport across the map in an instant, and so teleportation is like not even half as useful as it was before. It's just completely useless against these killers, which you'll probably be seeing these most of the time because nobody wants to play these killers as they are just not good. I said people that know what they're doing, and like his clone is just all but useless. You can clone parry with it, but the killer has to be kind of a moron for it to work, and even then, it will only save you a couple of seconds before you die. So yeah, just not great. He's just overall inconsistent, not good. His abilities are ineffective most of the time, so he's getting bomb D tier. He's the worst in my opinion. Next is Guest, going again very bottom, not very bottom, but top D tier, second worst survivor in my opinion. Guest is just inconsistent. I know a lot of people like Guest, but he's just not a good sentinel because while he does take some skill to use, you're mostly hoping the killer is a little bit of an idiot, or you're hoping that the killer does exactly what you want them to do, which is not generally a good strategy to hope something happens. And with Guest, he just isn't good. First of all, the only other ability other than your block and stun is charge, which is very situationally good. Like it's good to stop. It's good to kind of sort of slow down the killer from chasing the survivor, except for it doesn't really do that much unless if you're on a really high place and you knock them off, which that's like the only situation it's that great. And other than that, he has block, which is not a very good ability. Basically, you stand still for like a couple of seconds and you're completely immune to every kind of damage during this time. And if the killer hits you with a melee ability, you get charge. You get a lot of buffs. They get a lot of debuffs, and you get your stun. First of all, stun. The stun, if you don't use it immediately, becomes all but worthless. I'm pretty sure it becomes 1.5 seconds of stun time after a massive windup, which is just strictly worse than every other stun in the game, like by a million times, over by like 1,000 times. It's just so terrible. 1.5 seconds of stun does next to nothing. But if you are able to use it right after a block, you'll do a parry, which is much better. It has a much shorter windup, and it stuns it for, I believe, 3.5 seconds or 3, something like that. And, like, yeah, that's good, but how are you going to block is the issue. Because if the killer's not a moron, if they are expecting you to block, they can just kind of will you down until you block and just completely tear you apart once you do and you completely miss. It's just like, and the extra 15 HP means nothing. One thing you learn from playing Forsaken is that HP is having more HP is nice, but it's not really that much of a buff. Yes, having like 15 extra HP means you can take an additional M1 or something, but all it means is you can take an additional M1 or something, and that saves you like what, a second. Having more HP doesn't really make you a tank; it makes you a punching bag. So he's just not a good sentinel. He is too. I would say he's also the most luck-based survivor in the game. You have to hope that the killer hits your block, otherwise you're just screwed. So that's why I think he deserves to be at the bottom of the list. So then there's Two Time. Contrary, he goes and the top of S tier. I think he's one of, if not the best survivors in the game. He's definitely the best sentinel for sure, in my opinion. Basically, he's just really powerful, and like it's really hard to counter him. Kind of. Well, no, it's not, but he's just powerful. He basically what he does is he has his stun, which is you either a so you stab forward, and if you hit the front of the killer, you slow them down a bit and stop them from attacking you, and you get a third of your ablation bar. Also, you heal 10 HP, which all those stuff combined is still pretty good. But it does mean the killer will probably be able to get a hit off on you or something, so it's not the best. But if you're able to hit the killer in the back, it then you will stun them for like 3 or so seconds, and you heal for 20 HP. You get half your ablation bar, and yeah, and that's much better. You get free 20 HP, and just it's another character where they have self healing, and it's just extremely powerful. Self healing is extremely powerful, regardless of how much it is. And like yeah, and once you get full ablation, whenever you die at full ablation, you will respawn at your ritual point, which you can place, and it will, and yeah, you will respawn with. If you die, you will respawn with 40 HP and a bunch of debuffs that will last a little bit, and the killer will be able to see where you are. So it gives you second life, and that's still really good. It's not that great though because you are at 40 HP now, but you're still alive. And it will also give you the killer half of the time you would get on a normal kill. And but there's another thing. If you get to LMS, then you will respawn at the ritual with 110 HP, which having extra 10 HP over most characters is nice. And not to mention, you still have obviously your stuns. Other than all of that, he has crouch, which is meh. It's an undetectable ability that will give you a lunge if you stab forward. It's meh. Usually would want to use it for the stabbing lunge, which yeah. Overall, he's just really powerful. He's while he does have low HP, he can heal easily, and he can heal real easily. And a lot of times, especially if playing someone like Guess Who's Six, you will find yourself getting backstabbed very suddenly, just completely out of the blue. Because I found how the detection in Forsaken works is that it detects that you're behind the killer if you are parallel facing the killer. So regardless if you're actually in front of them or behind them, if you are facing the same direction as the killer, it will count as a backstab, which leads to some situations which are just stupid, where like the two time is in front of you, yet they somehow stab you in the back. So yeah, if you know how to play two time, he is very powerful. I still don't think he's the most powerful survivor because there's one other one coming up, but he is really strong. Next up is Chance, going at the top of C tier. Chance is another Sentinel that is sort of he's a lot more consistent than Guest. His problem is not that his luck is not that his abilities are luck based, sort of. It's that he mostly relies on one ability, which is his stun. And other than that, he has literally nothing. So like he got a couple of balance changes, but they don't really do much to help a situation. They like put him like a spot up on my tier list. Basically, you for a chance, everything revolves on you coin flipping to get charges for your abilities. And if you fail a coin flip, instead you get weakness. Pretty simple, but like this weakness can stack up, and weakness is a lot worse than you may think. So you know how I talked about Nosferatu's Hunter Feast giving you 25% damage increase, being pretty good. Yeah, every stack of weakness gives you makes you take 20% more damage, and on average, to get 3 charges, you will gain 3 weakness, which means you'll take 60% more damage. Just for contrast, that means Gas 666 20 damage attack will deal 32 damage, and like that's insane. And it's just like there are a bunch of abilities like Gashing Wound can like one tap you. It's just like it makes you so vulnerable. And to compensate for this, you have a lot of abilities. Like you can reroll, which the more tries you have, you get more HP when you reroll, which doesn't really matter. It is generally much better to just it's generally much better to just get one charge and then reroll at the start of the game. And if you happen to get it off cooldown and you don't have a lot of HP, you can use three charges, whatever. So yeah, it's not so, and you can get up to like I think 130 HP, but you can also get down to like 60 or 70. Shut up about the meme, but like it's just like yes, again, more HP is nice, but it's not that great in this game because it means you can take like 130 HP means you can take like what one or two more M1s, which will save you like 5 to 10 seconds. It's just not that great. It's generally much better to have something to stop the killer from attacking you. So, and that's where his gun comes in, his one shotgun. Basically, if you have three charges, this has a 90% chance of working, which is really good all of its odds, obviously. Then again, there's also a 5% chance that nothing happens and a 5% chance that it explodes on you, which, by the way, they added the most useless buff with this, where if the killer is literally standing right next to you, it stuns them, which is useless. But, like, if it explodes, you take damage, and you're also stunned for a while. You've stunned yourself instead of stunning the killer. And like if either of those things happen, you're probably pretty screwed because you just will get smacked like one or two times, and that losing half your HP from using one ability is generally not good. But to be fair, this will only happen 10% of the time, so it's still pretty consistent. But having that be a possibility definitely doesn't help his case. And the main problem is that he completely relies on this, and if he doesn't, he's just a fragile sentinel. That's it. When he has no other abilities. Like every single other character in the game has something else. Chance just doesn't. He spends all his time coin flipping to get a good stun, and that's it. So overall, he's just not a very good survivor, and that's why I'm putting him in C tier. Then next is Dusakar. I believe Dusakar is the best survivor in the game. He is an extremely powerful support, and he's also good at surviving himself. He's better survivalist than all the survivalists in the game combined. He basically, so his shield is pretty good. It got a little buff where you can't die while you're being shielded, which it has happened like 3 times in my like 1.5 days of playtime I've spent in the update. But still, it's a buff nonetheless. And when it comes to so and basically while you have the shield, you're pretty much immune to all damage. You're all but immune to all damage. It only lasts 2.5 seconds though, so it's not that great. What's really powerful is his blast, whatever it is. I can't remember the name, but basically he zaps laser beam basically. And this is extremely powerful. First of all, if you're using a normal Duscar skin, it'll have a little bit of obvious roundup, but just use the medic skin. It has basically zero indicator that you're using it other than you're slowed down a bit, which you can just walk to stop that. And it's really powerful on hit. First of all, if you hit a killer, it gives him, I believe, slowness 2 for like 3 seconds or something, which is extremely powerful. It really just like extends the chase by an additional like 15 seconds, 15 to 20 seconds, which is insane. And if you hit a survivor, it gives him like a little bit of speed and overheal for a couple seconds. So it's kind of like another thing that stops them from dying, and that is really powerful. What is another thing that is really powerful? You can hit both at once. If you manage to hit both the killer and survivor who are in a chase, you completely end the chase there. The survivor is too fast and the killer is too slow to catch up. Just completely end the chase with one ability. And if the killer tries to target you, you can just zap them and you instantly put them at a disadvantage. Either A, they have to keep chasing you, have a speed disadvantage, or B, they have to walk and not still be slow and still have to catch up to you afterwards, and potentially give more time for other survivors to come and help. So he is just so powerful. His ability is just so powerful, and that's the sole reason I'm putting him in S plus tier. He's just consistent, powerful, and just yeah, all around really good for support and surviving. Billerman next, going bottom C tier. I've seen a lot of people say that Billerman is the best support, which I just one of, if not the best supports, which I just completely disagree with. His abilities are just not that effective, and they take too long to set up. So like his sentry is pretty decent if you place in a good spot. Like first of all, it's very map dependent. If you don't have a good map, if your map doesn't have a very good spot to place it, then it's just completely useless. Like you just have to put it out open, and the kill destroys in like a second. But if you have a good spot like you in Assassin's Ground, it's pretty decent because you can place it in the slowness, and the killer has to slow himself to attack it or something. But other than that, it's just like it takes two M1s to destroy, or maybe just one ability sometimes. Then there is so it's just not good, and it takes time to set up. Then there's the dispenser, which is just kind of an awful ability. It's basically you set up a dispenser that heals 1 HP per second, a whopping 1 HP a second. Compared to that to Elliot's maximum healing of 4 to 5 in like 10 seconds, and like it's just so much worse. And like Shad's healing of 4 HP in like 5 seconds, like 50 HP in like 10 seconds. It's just worse than every other healing option in the game. It's technically better than nothing, but it might as well be. Like it'll take you like a whole minute to heal for full HP if you're low, and that means the killer will probably already have killed everyone or stopped you from healing by then. So yeah, overall he's just not very good, and on top of his abilities just not being that good, they also take time to set up. So he's completely worthless in chase if he doesn't have a sentry already set up, and even if he does, it takes two M1s to destroy it, and it's just his only line of defense completely destroyed. So yeah, he's just not a good support in my opinion. He's not a good survivor. He's okay. Next survivor up is Taff. I am putting Taff at the bottom of B tier. Taff is not completely terrible, unlike all the survivors down here. His traps can be very effective if you place them properly. It's just that they take time to play. It's kind of like Billerman, at least with him, they have pretty short cooldowns, so it's not that hard to get them set up, even mid chase sometimes. So yeah, and like there's the combo of subspace trip mine and tripwire is extremely powerful. It's just that he still isn't that great of a survivor. It's just that like that's his only line of defense, and you can really just wipe them out in a couple of seconds. Like even if you are hit by like subspace trip mine, you can just walk through everything and everything completely explodes. Just everything gone, all your hard work gone. And it's not like you can really like place them all around the map. You can, but they don't last forever, especially the subspace trip mine. Like you can have two subspace trip mines at once, and that's it. So yeah, and just tripwires, you can have like 3 or 4 up at once, and that's it. So all go away over times, and like the only like and like alone with that, like subspace trip mine alone is not that great. Like usually you can just destroy it, and if you do, you can still chase the survivor. It's not like helpless stops you from running. You can still just chase after survivor and wait the flipping only 5 seconds of and it's not really that hard to see through subspace. I don't know why people think that. It's just not hard. And then the trip mine on its own, you can usually just see in the story. It's very obvious. And if you do, you can just walk. It's a lot more effective. Tripwire is generally a lot more effective on its own if you can hit, but it's still just really easy to see most of the time. And even if you do, it's not completely a chase ender. And together they are very powerful because if you are hit by a subspace trip mine, then you really can't destroy tripwires. So you either have to go through them or go around or just wait, which is yeah kind of a predicament. But again, it's just not gonna be that great. So yeah, he's just like he's decent, and you can definitely play him. He's just not the best. Finally, the last survivor, Veronica, putting her at the top of B tier. Veronica got a very, very big nerf in the most recent update. Basically, they've made Skate a lot worse as a disengage ability. You can still use it to do some cool tricks with like the jumping and stuff, but that's it. You can't use it to really run away anymore because it takes too much stamina. And then as for and all the like broadcasts have been nerfed greatly, and her healing is a lot worse. Overall, she is still playable. She is still a pretty good survivalist. She's just not nearly as good as she once was. Like, I feel like a better option to nerf her would be to make her skate like have a cooldown of 30 seconds and make it so that like probably like the speed on phase is reduced by a lot, instead of just giving her all these massive nerfs and keeping the speed keeping the cooldown for skate, which is now basically all but useless for most situations. Yeah, but to be honest, it's not really that useless. You can still use her effectively if you're good enough. It's just that there are a lot more survivors that take a lot less effort and are a lot better, in my opinion. So now that's my tier list. I forgot to say this at the start. No, but like, you can tell me if you disagree with me in the comments or not. I'm trying to upload more consistently, so hoping I could get this out on Sunday, but might not be able to. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you made this far, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.